We need to get this piece and this piece, and I do them in pairs, okay? And they require different blocks to be used, and you need quite a few of them. You need 4 per square, so 4 times 16, 64. You need 64 of these pieces. Cut to the right length with the correct angles at both ends. So that's what we're going to do next, and I'm going to show you how to figure out a rough length for this to get started. And we're just going to make 2 pieces, 1 pair, and we're going to test fit. Don't cut all 64, okay? Always do a test on 1 or 2 pieces to determine whether you've got it perfect, and then knock out all of them. Take a piece, and we're just going to lay it from corner to corner. And then I'm going to take my ruler, and I don't really know yet exactly what angle I'm going to measure, but I'm going to just kind of split the difference, and I'm going to put my ruler right in the corner, about right there, and I'm going to measure it. I'm going to say that's 1.5 inches, and that's way over what it needs to be. I'm going to cut 2 of them at 1.5 inches, and then we're going to put this angle on it. Now I need to change the pairing blocks, so I'm going to push back on the handle, pull the block out, grab the second block, and I want angle B, which is technically 22.5 degrees. Clamp it, slide my piece in, and you're probably going to have to adjust the screwdriver. And again, what we want to do is take off just a little bit and sneak up to perfection. Don't try and take big bites. Don't try and do it perfect the first time, because it's never going to work. So I've got my piece here. I've got my 22.5 degree angle, or my B angle, and I'm going to pair. That's pretty steep, and you just want to make sure that when you're done, it is at a true point, and that is a 45 degree angle. Okay, 22.5 and 22.5. Do that on the other one, because I said to do 2. We always do this in pairs. And we're only doing 1 end. Okay, and that's nice sharp end. Now, I'll bring the Kumiko back over, and we'll test fit that. I'm going to just randomly pick a triangle, basically. And I'm going to put that in there so it's nice and tight. And when it's nice and tight in there, the angle is predetermined. It stays there. Okay, so I'll get that nice and tight in there, and that establishes where it's at. So then I'll take this piece, or even better yet, the ruler, go corner to corner, make sure this is in there good and tight, mark my pencil. So now I know, so you can see that, how long this piece needs to be from this point to this point. I can readjust my saw stop and recut these 2 so they're just a little bit longer, and then we can cut this angle. Then we can do another test piece, and once we've established that they are correct, we can cut and pair both ends to 64 pieces, put them in a cup. So I have my mark here, and this, looking at that mark and just bringing this ruler up here, this is like 5/16 of an inch too long. You wouldn't want to try and pare that much material off. This needs to get cut. So I'm going to reset up the stop block on the saw, and I'm going to cut both of these. I'm going to set the fence using this pencil line, so I'm just cutting it a little bit bigger than that, and then I'll bring it in. I'll change to a different angle on my pairing block, and I'll pair, and I will keep doing that and adjusting the pairing block stop until these 2 pieces come together perfectly. I used angle C, which is, depending how you look at it, 67.5 or 22.5. We now have 2 of the 3 angles. We have these 2 coming to a point, which we did first. And now we have this angle here, which most people say that this is 67.5 degrees. And I need to do the other one, but I gotta cut it first. And then I'll fit that in here. So this is the difference between the 2. This is what we initially cut, just as a rough length. And then this is one that's got 2 out of 3 angles cut on it. A nice, tight joint right there. So I am going to now that I've got these 2 fit, this is my test pieces, I'm going to take one and I'm going to go over and I am going to use this to set my stop block on my saw so that I'm cutting it just a little bit longer than it needs to be. And then I am going to cut at least 62 of these, probably 64 or 66. And the thing to be aware here, though, is that right now the stop block on our saw is cutting a piece that's too big. We need to make that smaller. And also, this block, this angle B that we started out with, when this was really way too long, this stop is not correct anymore. Okay, if you look, this would not pair it to the right length, so we have to adjust this still. We'll get back to that. Right now I'm going to go cut a bunch of parts. So I have exactly I have 62 of these, and I got 2 in here that are fit right. I'm going to use one of the 2 that are fit right, make sure that they are in fact right. They're the same length, good. I'm going to set them in here, or one of them. I am going to move this stop so that when I pair this, my piece will be just still a little bit longer than it needs to be, and we'll take it off the other side. And I'm talking just a hair longer. And when you tighten these, you don't have to kill it. You're not pressing in super hard. So let's do a test on one. This here. Still a flat spot there, so I got to move it a little bit more. And we're moving very small amounts, and that's how this Kumiko works. You move very small amounts. You adjust so that one of them, your test piece, and in this case, I got these 2 right, but I got to go back and readjust. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm readjusting my initial so that I get a nice sharp point there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay. And now, flip this around. I'm going to use angle C, just like we did before, only now there's a lot less. So here's my piece. And before it was sticking way out here, and I took my chisel and I pared it down. Now, single pass. And this piece now should be the identical length to one of my initials. And now both of my angles, actually 2 of my 3 angles, we've only done 2 of 3. I have 2 of the 3 angles correct. And so now I am going to go through this entire cup. I'm going to go back to my initial, angle B, the really pointy one, and take my fresh sawn pieces. I'm going to cut angle B, both sides. Okay. And I'm gonna take my two good ones out, well, three now, and I am going to, now I've got this end done, I'm gonna just move them from one cup to the next and only deal with one angle at a time. So I'm gonna get my angle B done on all 61 pieces that I have left. Now 59. And just keep throwing them in there. And I just have a few left, but this angle cut B, you're taking off a lot of material. So one of the things that I do is I do a shearing cut. So watch, I'm starting at the top, I've got my finger out of the way, this chisel's sharp, and I push forward and down, and so I'm shearing across it. And that initial cut, you know, this second cut isn't as much material to be removed. That first cut, I'll do this one more time. That first cut, you bring it and you slide it down and move it forward at the same time. It is imperative, though, that you maintain the flat part of this chisel to be perfectly flat all the time on the paring block. Okay, so I'll do it one more time on this side. I'm gonna shear cut. Okay. That's it for angle B. Now you switch your little cups. I'm going to flip it over. My angle C. And this whole process starts all over again. And I may sometimes do that shearing cut all the time. It's a habit, and or not quite as sharp, because you end up using just, you know, this much of it. But if you're doing a shearing cut, you're using the whole chisel. Okay. And remember not to cut off the part that you've already done. Not that you really can, but. All right, you got to do all 64 of these. And then we have another cut to do. And that one's interesting.